You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
Gold, crude oil, corn, soybeans, and more. With so many tradable products, the futures options market can be an intimidating place. How can you possibly keep track of the latest trading developments across so many different products? Don't worry, we've got you covered. Welcome to This Week in Futures Options, the program designed to help active futures options traders stay on top of this ever-changing marketplace. Each week, we'll break down the top trades, hot products, volatility explosions, and much more. This Week in Futures Options streams live, so be sure to check out our live stream via the Mixlr app. That's MIXLR. Or join our live chat room at mixlr.com/options-insider. Whether you're an experienced veteran or a newcomer looking to separate the wheat from the lean hogs, This Week in Futures Options has the information you can't find anywhere else. This Week in Futures Options is brought to you by CME Group, the world's leading and most diverse futures and options exchange. For more information and educational resources about futures options at CME Group, visit cmegroup.com/options. And now, get ready to break down the latest futures options trading activity. It's time for This Week in Futures Options.
All right, everybody, that music means we are back. It is Thursday. It is 1:30 p.m. Central. It is 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Do you know what's popping off in the world of futures options? Well, let's find out together, shall we? It is time once again for TWIFO. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com. Reminding you, if you're not checking out the network, man, you are missing out. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts, including over on the Tubes or on Audible or, of course, your Spotifys, your Apples, all that fun. And make sure, of course, if you want to join us for the official after party for Vol Views, you want to get pro Q&As. We talk a lot about commodity vol and all sorts of fun there on these pro Q&As, as well as, of course, get your name in the hat for the final pro trading crate of the year. And rumor has it, the next vol death match. TheOptionsInsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more. As we learn what's lighting up the tape, let's get down to business. It is time for the Movers and Shakers Report.
It's time to find out what's rallying on the light side and falling to the dark side at CME Group this week. It's time for the Movers and Shakers Report.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Movers and Shakers Report, the portion of the show where we do just that. We break down the week that was and indeed still is over there at CME Group this week. What is lighting it up to the light side and to the dark side? Let's find out. If you look at the full graph that we tweet out before showtime, listeners, you will see this full table that we're pretty close to split, slightly biased towards the green. I would say 55-45, maybe 60-40, green over red. That said, the largest percentage mover is to the dark side this week. So we got quite a contest on our hands out here, listeners. And you know what? I get to choose this week, so I'm going to kick things off. Let's go dark side, because that's just more in tune to my nature, listeners. Number 5 to the dark side. I think we have a bit of a bias to one complex here for the dark side this week. Can you guess which complex is getting shellacked this week, listeners? If you said energy, you have been paying attention. Number 5, heating oil, off 3.59%. Number 4, we've got our lone non-energy player to the dark side this week. We're going to ags. It's Kansas City wheat, off 3.7%. The rest, all energy all the time, listeners. Number 3, our old pal WTI, off 3.75%. It was number 4 in the other direction, up 2.2%. So giving back all that and then some. Number 2, RBOB, off 3.85%. This one was number 3 in the same direction last week. So RBOB kind of doing its own thing out there. It was off almost 3.5% last week, off 3.85% this week. So rough couple of weeks for RBOB. And then the big dog to the dark side. Can you guess? Yeah, it's our old pal Nat Gas. I feel like I was just saying to our good buddy Dan the Man Gramza, this 5 handle, 5.25 we're hanging out in Nat Gas, it felt kind of too rich for me. Did I not say that? Just on the last show, listeners. Dan took the other side of that. He said no. Well, fast forward a week, listeners. And who's right? Nana boo-boo to you, Dan. I'm just kidding. I'm just giving Dan a hard time. We love Dan around here. Nat Gas, number 1 with a bullet to the dark side this week, off 16.6%. It was number 1 to the other side last week, up about 4.5%. So getting shellacked out there in Nat Gas land. All right. To the light side we go, and we've got some of the usual suspects there, including the shiny stuff. Number 5, it's palladium, up 2.9%. Number 4, off to the land of the softs we go. It is lumber, up 3.63%. Number 3, keeping it in the realm of volatile underlyings that don't do a lot of options volume. It's oats. Good to see oats and lumber back on the list, and indeed back to back. Number 3, oats, up 3.96%. Oats and lumber, the two products that mystify me why they don't do more options flow, but I've surrendered on that front a long time ago. Number 2, live cattle. This one maybe not coming as a welcome move for a lot of you out there who are hoping for a bit of a reprieve at the old butcher's counter. Live cattle up about 4%. It was number 3 in the same direction last week, up 2.8%. So a wild couple of weeks out here in live cattle. And then number 1, where's Uncle Mike when you need him? Oh yeah, we just had him on the option block. It feels weird to be talking silver without him, but nonetheless, we shall do so because it is inescapable. Silver up 11.7%. I kind of feel bad for him. He left a lot of upside on the table in silver, and he's the longest running silver bull that I know. And you know what? How could you not take what silver gave you? It's already been, even when he sold it, it was a pretty much once in a lifetime year for silver. And now it's done that almost again. Just wild stuff out there. Before we get to all that fun, listeners, let's break down some wild stuff on the vol front, shall we? Of course, you folks can play along. Just type CME and CVOL into literally any browser you're running. That's CVOL, listeners. That will get you to the CVOL dashboard. Once you're there, click on the aggregates tab. I do need to have them add in crypto and a few other complexes out there to complete the aggregate CVOL array. Right now, no crypto in there. And also go to the 1 week tab, listeners. Once you do that, you will see that energy is top of our list this week in terms of the biggest movers today. Energy CVOL popping at a 58 exactly, up over 1.5 points today. Not the high for the week, though. The high for the week was 59.57. That was earlier this week. And the low, 56.11. So about a 3.5 point range on the energy CVOL this week. As we keep on going to the commodities CVOL, our number 2 biggest gainer on the day, 36.21, up almost 0.4 points today. That is also not the high for the week. The high, 36.94. I guess if there's a theme to our CVOL this week, it's a lot of our CVOLs hanging out towards the middle portion of their range with a couple of exceptions. We'll get there in a second. The low for the CVOL on commodities this week, 35.73. So another one kind of hanging out in the middle portion of its range. Below it, we have the FX CVOL off 0.02. So kind of just treading water today, hanging out at a 5.94. That is close to the low for the week of 5.91. So let's just say it's at the bottom of its range. The high, 6.28. A decent range for FX, all things considered. Below it, we have the Ag Product CVOL. 18.18 right now. It's off 0.19. That is the low for the week. So Ag's pinning the needle to the downside for the week on the vol front. The high, 18.75. Below it, we have the Treasury Price Vol, 4.64, off 0.27 today. The low for the week, 4.51. The high, 4.91. So a 0.4 point range, I should say, on the week out there, listeners, hanging out at 4.64 right now. Metals coming in below that, 22.42. Coming back to earth a little bit today, off 0.63 today. In fact, every day this week, with the exception of yesterday, they came for metals vol. That's kind of interesting. 22.15 was the low, 23.27 yesterday, obviously Fed day, so injecting a little bit of juice into metals vol, not exactly surprising on Fed day. And then at the bottom of our list, we have the Treasury yield volatility, 84.22, off nearly 5 points just today. The low for the week, 82.18, the high, 89.12. All right, we got a lot of action on the tape out here this week, but I feel like it's two frequent offenders that are once again dominating the conversation. It's inescapable. I feel for you folks out there who want to talk corn or something else like that. They're just not coming on the list. They have to fight past the stalwarts. And once again, we've got two usual suspects dominating the tape. So let's kick it off. Talking silver.
Werewolves beware. It's time to explore the options activity in silver, gold, and other shiny things. It's time to talk metals.
All right, everybody. Let's get down to business, listeners. Talking a little bit of metals. You know where to go to find these reports for yourselves. CMEgroup.com/TWIFO. It is the name of the show after all. TWIO, TWIO should also work. That gets you to our reports for this week. If you're listening down the road, you might have to dial back that time frame to line up with the show. Also, you're going to go in that drop down. We're kicking things off in metals. So we're going all the way to the bottom of the list, listeners, to the metals. And then once there, we're going to go precious. We're going to skip over our old pal gold this week because silver, number one with the bullet. Silver, pretty much the best performing asset on the futures side that we track over there at the futures rundown for the year. So silver stealing a march on just about everything, not just its big brother gold, but also all the crypto assets and just about everything else, even all the other shiny stuff like platinum, palladium. Silver saying, hold my beer, kid. And you know what? Silver coming in and started the show today, about 64, almost 64 and a quarter, 64.21 in that front future. So absolutely wild stuff. Up another, I mean, these numbers almost don't even make sense. Up 5.16 handles or nearly 9% just since Monday. Up 11.7% since the end of our show last week. Again, just wild stuff out here in silver territory. We've gone beyond the Hunt brothers now, listeners. We're in some really rarefied air, listeners, for this name. I mean, when you got longtime bulls like Uncle Mike calling it quits, nearly 20 handles lower. That's absolutely wild, but that's what we're in right now, listeners. I'm curious. Are you still riding the silver bull? You still riding the silver train, or did you get off like most other sensible people a few stops back? Hit us up. Let us know. Might be a good, fun end of the week, maybe a question of the week or a question for next week, listeners. All right, let's go out to silver, listeners. Is it a hot week? Volume-wise in silver, the answer, you probably know what it is. The answer is yes. Silver putting up some numbers. Again, silver not usually a rock'em sock'em product. That is changing of late. We used to expect silver 25, 30,000 contracts on a normal week, 50,000 if things were lighting it up. Already almost 2x that, 92,000 contracts on the tape so far in silver, and no signs of slowing down. Of that nearly 2x volume, a third, 33.2% going up in the Jan contract that has 12 days to go. So once again, we are playing close to the fire, close to expiration in all things silver out there. Listen, not quite 0 day, but definitely in the front couple of weeks, which if you've been playing or watching the metals for a while, it's not usually how folks play them. Usually it's a lot longer term and it's to the upside. It's D's of whatever trading year, and it's however many strikes out of the money calls. That's how people play the metals. These days, it's a different game. Again, 33% going up in the Jan contract, so we'll hang out there. 64.21 is where that future is. The vol, 43.12, up nearly 2 points, about 1.9 points. So again, giving back a little bit of juice in the metals, but not enough to really bump the metals C-vol for the week. We are at the low end of the range for the metals C-vol for the week. Skew-wise, I mean, we've been just blowing through strikes to the upside. How can it not be bid to the upside? And the answer is that it is. Calls last week, 3.9% bid. This week, 6.6% bid. You know, usually when you're rallying, after a while, you see some exhaustion start moving in there, and the calls might get back to flat or maybe even a discount. Not seeing that. Again, 6.6% bid. It's not quite the largest bid on the table in terms of skew upside and premium to the upside. That looks like that honor belongs to, it's like about April of next year. April and Dees are both in the 14 to 15% premium to the upside. But again, I told you, Dees, that's where the precious metals bugs like to hang out. But that's a decent bid for a call wing with less than 2 weeks left to go, listeners. And what was the hot option out there in Silverland this week? In the Jan cycle, it was the 65s, but we'll come back to those because actually the big dog once again, and this is what we were talking about last week on the show as well, I do believe, it's these Feb 80s. Actually, the Feb 80s are your big dog for the week yet again. 3,700 of these have changed hands right now. The Feb contract has about 47 days to go. If you're wondering, Feb vol at nearly a 43, up 2.7 points, and the calls are 12.1% bid out in February. So that's more along the lines of the skew I was expecting, given this type of ridiculous move we've been seeing to the upside here in silver. Once again, though, it is this Feb vertical that's dominating the tape. Feb 80, 85 call vertical going up. Trading size again on Monday and Tuesday. It's like 1,600 times each Monday and Tuesday. Opening both times. So total volume obviously around 3,300 contracts, somewhere in that ballpark. And looks like they did it for prices around 13 cents. If you're wondering, what does a far out of the money call vertical go for in silver? That's your Huckleberry, 13 cents. Kind of an interesting one. I mean, the 80 strike on its surface sounds absurd, but if you had asked me about the 60 strike in December a few months ago, I would have said that was absurd. So what really is absurd anymore in the realm of silver? Is it absurd to buy such an 80, 85 vertical? I mean, I'll leave that up to you folks to decide. This like it's trading another couple hundred times potentially today. OI on both strikes, 7,200 on the 80s, 6,700 on the 85s coming into today. So Feb 80-85 call spread. We kind of joked about that last time, but here it is trading yet again. That is your number one, in fact, the number one and number two most active strikes, the 80 and 85. So we mock it at our peril, listeners. These 65s in Jan are comparatively light. Only about 1,600 of those going up today. Looks like including a vertical was trading earlier this week for $2.38. A 60-65 vertical trading about, it's like a few hundred times on Monday for about $2.38. Actually, no, the 60-65 is trading today for $2.38. The 65s by themselves traded on Monday as well for about that same price. March 65s traded about $2.35 on Monday. So kind of interesting. Pick your poison. Would you rather have the 65s on Monday for $2.35 or a 60-65 vertical today for about that same price, $2.38? Because we saw both of those changing hands out there this week, listeners. Let's look really quickly, see if we can see any other interesting and or aberrant prints out there. The 70s also trading about the same number of times, 1,600 times. Weirdly enough, it doesn't look like any sort of vertical paper. You might see those both trading similar volume within about 10 contracts of each other total in the week and think, oh, it's obviously a 65-70 vertical, but obviously it's not. We just talked about the 60-65, and the 70s are trading pretty much all today. 1,200 of those going up today out there, listeners. So March 70s, perhaps those bad boys float your boat out there instead, listeners. Let's see. There's a March 70-75 trading today for 87 cents as well. I'll have to go look and see what the March 70s are trading for by themselves. They don't have a price for those right now. But either way, listeners, here we go. March 70s by themselves, $2.85. So it's up to you whether you like the 70s by themselves in March for $2.85 or the March 70-75 call spread for about 87, 88 cents. That's what's lighting up the tape. Not surprising that it's upside. It's just surprising of how far up it is and how far out it is. So fascinating stuff here in silver, but we're not done yet with this Just the Facts, ma'am edition of TWIFO, because we got to talk about our old pal, the Widowmaker, aka Nat Gas. Yep, it's time to talk some energy.
It's time to tap into the deep options well of black gold, Texas tea, nat gas, and more. It's time to talk energy.
All right, everybody, welcome to the explosive world of energy. Going to go up 4 slots in the asset class list. 2 energy, then we're going to go past our old pal WTI, down 3 slots to nat gas. Once again, nat gas lighting up the tape. These days, if you have to just throw a dart at the board and say, what's going to be lighting up the tape on TWIFO this week? If you just guess silver and nat gas every week, you're looking pretty good. Volume-wise, they're delivering. Volatility-wise, they are delivering. It's a wild time out here, listeners. All right, where is nat gas coming into the start of the show? About a little bit shy of 4.25, about 423. So again, nana boo-boo to you, Mr. Dan. It just seemed wrong. It just seemed wrong, that 5 handle for nat gas, listeners out here. Now, I didn't go out and load up on a ton of puts to the downside. I wasn't that convicted. But it just leapt off my screen, and it screamed wrong to me, listeners. So nat gas off a full point, 1.06 points, or about 20%. Just since Monday out there, listeners, obviously coming for a wee bit of the old natty gas. And once again, delivering on the volume front. Nat gas. I mean, look out E-mini. Look out 10-year at this point. Here comes nat gas coming for you. Closing in on 1.4 million contracts right now. Now, again, E-mini 10-year going to do double that. But still, the fact that nat gas sub $5 underlying is even on the radar, kind of wild out here, listeners. Also shows you how much penetration nat gas has gotten in the broad public mind share out there. Folks are intrigued by nat gas, and they are clearly trading it. I see some talk in our live chat about nat gas ETFs. Yeah, there's a few of them floating around out there. We've talked about them on the network in the past, things like Boyle and others. None of them are really super sexy. Obviously, we talk, GLD and SLV. Those have a lot of benefits. They hold the physical. A lot of these other ETFs that attempt to recreate futures positions obviously don't have that luxury, and so it becomes a little bit more challenging from a roll yield and tracking perspective out there. But I digress. We're not here to debate the ETFs. We're here to talk the flow. The hot cycle out here in a hot week in nat gas. It's the Jan expiration cycle. Have 15 days to go. Listeners, man, almost 61% of that 1.33 million contracts is going up in the Jan cycle. Man, talk about concentration of liquidity. That is wild. And the hot option in the Jan cycle, almost the equivalent of all of silver. This product is putting up numbers that are absolutely wild. What is the volume, you might be asking, in Jan nat gas right now? Right around 65 3/4, up about 2/3 of a point. So not exactly a banger week on the vol front, even though our energy C vol ticking up this week. So kind of interesting, nat gas not really contributing to that. In terms of skew, the calls are where the action is. 6.1% bid last week, 8.6% bid this week. So ticking up, despite the fact that we got a little bit of annihilation in the underlying. The puts last week, 3.7% discounted. This week, 7.1% discounted. So if you just look at that skew, apropos of nothing else, no context to it, you look at that skew, you might think, well, whatever underlying this is maybe starting to show you that perhaps we're starting to see a little bit of a expectation that the worm might turn a little bit out there. But we shall see. As we all know, skew, not exactly a crystal ball, just gives you some insight into what the options market is pricing in. And they are pricing in a whole hell of a lot of 5/2 out there right now, listeners. 5/2 in Jan are where the action is, and they are trading for days. 87, almost 88,000 of these bad boys going up out here, including nearly 40,000 just today, 39,000 today, a total again of 87,000, almost 88,000 on the week. If you're wondering, only 26,000 open coming into today. So clearly that is opening flow on these Jan 5/2. The rest of the week, though, no slouch. Almost 21,000 on Monday, also opening. 19,000 on Tuesday, looks like slightly opening. 8,500 yesterday, looks like closing yesterday. And then back to the action today. Right behind it, we have 77,000 of the Jan 5s. Looks like we might have some vertical action because 44,000 of the Jan 5s trading today as well. I'm just digging into some of this flow out here to see what we can find out here. We did have a Jan 5/2 5 call spread trading today. I see it went up at least 4,000 times today, and obviously more traded after this I don't have prices on that. I have the 5.5/6 call spread that traded for a whopping 6 cents 8,500 times on Monday. If that one floats your boat out here, listeners. Let me look and see if I can get the prices for today's big Jan print. The 5.5 call spread trading about 4 cents, 3.7 cents to be precise, listeners. So that could obviously be some roll action, even though it looks like it's opening. It's like it's opening on both strikes. Let me go pull that one up again just to make sure. Yeah, it looks like it is opening on both strikes because the OI on the 5s was 25,000 coming into today. OI on the 5.5s was 26,000. So you got 39,000 5.5s and 44,000 5s trading today. Guess what? That's opening flow. So 5.5 vertical, listeners, around 4 cents. Again, it's substantially out of the money at this point, obviously. Even if you were rolling, it's not getting you much. You're still pretty far, about $1.25 out of the money just for the start of that call spread. So is that a good do, as the kids say? Is that 4 cents just being sacrificed to the market gods? What do you folks think out there, listeners? It's not exactly one that leaps off the page to me, but maybe you're down for a little bit of rolling the old bones out here, listeners. Outside of that massive call vertical, we see the six calls printing quite a bit today as well. 55,000 times this week. Not today, though. Only about 8,200 going up today. The hot day for these was Monday, about 24,000 on Monday, nearly 15,000 on Tuesday. It's like opening both days. Closing yesterday, same volume almost exactly as the 5.5s on Wednesday, about 8,500 and change for each. So maybe someone took off a 5.5/6 call spread. Oh, you know what? That is the print I saw. It looks like it printed on Wednesday for 6 cents. So that would make sense. So they were closing that bad boy 8,500 times. So someone giving up the ghost there on Wednesday, and then about 8,200 today. So total of 55,000. The OI coming into today, 50,000. So there's still size OI on the 6 strike. Looks like this downside move, just the velocity of it might have caught some people sleeping out here. If you want to go really far to the upside, how about some Feb 7s, listeners? They're trading today almost 1,000 times for a whopping 2.7 cents. So there you go. You want to roll the bones on some serious nat gas upside, man. 7s. Now we're starting to get back in the Ukraine invasion territory where we were threatening, 9 and 10 handles out there. So 7 would certainly be quite the move out there in all things nat gas. Not to say they aren't trading, though, listeners. Feb 7s have traded 15,000 times this week. So clearly that is a hot strike. Again, it's not all upside, though. How about March? 3 puts going up 20,000 times this week. Pretty even all week long. The big day, though, was about 9,000 on Tuesday, mostly opening there. So a wild week with some wild prints out here in nat gas, listeners. A fascinating week out here. We could just talk silver and nat gas and have a lot to sink our teeth into here. Some folks talking about, in our chat, we're still on the silver train. I'm riding it until it crashes, then buying more when it does. Not buying any more now, I guess he means, but not letting it go out. So you're riding the train. Well, good for you, Mr. Unlimited. You have calls, you have underlying, you got a little bit of SLV in the back pocket. You're riding some of the futures. How are you slinging it out there? Oh, he's also doing UNG. He's out there on the UNG side as well. UNG expiring in 6 days, 13 puts. Selling some puts in nat gas, riding some upside in SLV. A lot of fun stuff. A lot of other folks saying they're collecting silver from the family to go hit the bid on it. Yeah, I can't say I blame you out there. Interesting stuff. If you want to join the pro, listeners, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go. That gets you behind the velvet rope for the official after party of volatility views known as Options Oddities. Lately, we've been early on the tip of a lot of interesting flow out there. The Flow Master just rocking to this stuff well after we're chatting about it over there on Options Oddities. So make sure you're checking out all things oddities, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. Also get you in there for pro Q&A. Speaking of the Flow Master, he will be joining us for Vol Deathmatch 2.0 coming soon to the pro. And of course, the final pro trading crate of the year. It's always a good one. They're all good. but we try to pack in even more fun for the end of the year. So make sure, if you haven't won one yet, you want to get your name in the hat. theoptionsinsider.com/pro has all the info on how to do just that. And of course, while you're checking things out online, check out cmegroup.com/twifo, TWIFO. I'll get you all the data we don't have time to talk about here on the show today. So if you want to go crunch the numbers for corn or for palladium or for the E-mini, be prepared with the E-mini. There's a lot of flow there and a lot of, shall we say, noise to sort through to find the signal. But you can do it all for free. cmegroup.com/twifo. You want to check the E-mini at 2 a.m.? Have at it. It's all yours because we like you. cmegroup.com/twifo. That's going to do it for us here. Back again after the closing bell to talk some wild paper. How those Oracle pars holding up for the end of the week. We'll find out that and a whole bunch more on the Hot Options Report. Then again, back tomorrow. Vol Views, talking all things Vol. Who's going to join us? You got to tune in to find out. And then, of course, come back for the Pro for oddities. Then we wrap it up with all things Thor, the Hot Options Report, before we're back again next week, all the way to next Thursday. Another episode of This Week in Futures Options. Stay safe out there, everybody.
This Week in Futures Options is brought to you by CME Group, the world's leading and most diverse futures and options exchange. CME Group's markets help individuals and businesses around the world manage risks and seize opportunities. CME Group offers the deepest and most liquid options on futures across all asset classes, including interest rates, equity indexes, foreign exchange, energy, agriculture, and metals. For more information and educational resources about futures options at CME Group, visit cmegroup.com/options. This broadcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute trading advice or the solicitation of purchases or sale of any futures or options. The rulebook of the applicable exchange should be consulted as the authoritative source on all current contract specifications.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.